my personal YouTube, but we're safe. We're on the SciStarter YouTube.
I truly, no matter how many webinars I do, I'll always be like, something's going to go wrong.
SciStarter YouTube. All right, here we are.
Truly, no matter how many webinars I don't like. I like that.
All right, so I'm putting the link in the chat so we can all share far and wide. I'm gonna go take it to SciStarter social media networks too.
Should we put it on our Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, etc.
Caroline,
we have an Isaac Walton League. All of it. Can you just send it to Jeanette?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that.
Make this go on all of the things quickly, more quickly than Sam is capable of.
I think she did. She did put a link to it on Facebook this morning.
Oh, nice.
We're just getting everything quickly set up. Posting some images.
Good.
You hear Dom just like quietly moaning? You're just like, ugh. Oh no. #1 mascot, right, buddy? Yes.
And we post. I'm going to post it in the Facebook event too, just so people know where to find the live stream.
Nice.
Yay. It looks like we have one attendee tuning in on Zoom. Hi, Jay. Thanks for being here. This is a little different from the other live streamed events we've been doing. We're giving this one kind of like a personal feel, a behind the scenes feel to see the people behind the citizen science projects that you so graciously volunteer your time for. And we're hoping this will be kind of like an evergreen video. So whenever we at SciStarter, say do Stream Selfie, or do Creek Critters, or all these awesome projects that come from this team, we can say, and if you want to learn a little bit more about them and the work they do with your contributions, you can watch this video. So let me post this in the event just so people can find it, and we'll get started in just a minute.
I think it should be good.
All right, so I think we can go ahead and get started. So hey everybody, I'm Caroline Nickerson. I'm with the SciStarter team, and I've been working on Citizen Science Month. Citizen Science Month is all day, every day in April. It's a good time. You can find events like this one and projects you can do online or outside while following public health protocols like Stream Selfie, which you'll hear about in this presentation. So Citizen Science Month is just a time to come together and celebrate the fact that anyone, anywhere can meaningfully engage in science and make a difference and protect our planet. So I'm going to turn it over here to the team so they can tell you a little bit about them and introduce themselves, and then we'll just chat informally about all of their different work. So Rebecca, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So I'm Rebecca Shore. I'm the Save Our Streams coordinator for the Mid-Atlantic region, which means that I focus primarily in Maryland and Virginia, especially our Virginia Save Our Streams program, which is a state-specific program. We have over about 300 volunteers total in the Mid-Atlantic right now with Save Our Streams, and it's always growing. So I manage a lot of that volunteer outreach, but I also help out with a lot of our other programs, including Stream Selfie, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Creek Critters, help out a little bit with Salt Watch and some of our other programs. So I'm in our Gaithersburg headquarters office.
Also known as
Thanks, Rebecca. Wait, what did you say, Samantha?
Also known as her bedroom right now.
Right. HQ, my personal home.
Yes. I love it. I'm gonna start calling my apartment HQ.
Gotta.
And then one of the only people on the line not in Maryland right now, we have Zach.
Yeah, hi everybody. So I am also in my HQ here in Iowa. I work remotely with the national team. I'm the Midwest Save Our Streams coordinator. So kind of similar to a lot of what Rebecca does, working with volunteers and training volunteers and Save Our Streams. Right now during our social distancing time that we're in, we're also putting a lot of time to some of our other citizen science projects that we're going to talk about, but we're trying to grow the SOS program here in the Midwest. And so that's my responsibility.
All right, fabulous. And then Emily, do you want to say hello?
Yes, I do. So I'm Emily Bialowis. I'm also from our national headquarters office, my personal HQ right now. And my job is I'm the Chesapeake Monitoring Outreach Coordinator. So I work with a collaborative of other monitoring groups throughout the Chesapeake watershed to monitor water quality and collect data that can be shared with the government. And I also head up our Salt Watch program, which is our seasonal winter program when we send out chloride test strips to look at the impact of road salt on our waterways during our winter months.
All right, fabulous. Thank you to Emily. And then Samantha.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Briggs. I'm the Clean Water Program Director for the Isaac Walton League, which means that I get to work with all these wonderful people that you've just met all the time. And I'm also, I have my hands in all of our programs and our monitoring programs. And then I spend a lot of time on our Clean Water Hub database, which is where my biggest time sink is making sure we have the technology for our volunteers to be able to contribute to our data sources now. So yeah, I'm actually closest to headquarters. So I'm a stone's throw away from where we usually work, but in my own personal home right now.
All right, so as you can see, even though we're all joining from different places, we're able to connect through these virtual events, which I think has been my favorite part of Cit Sci Month. So I'll let Rebecca kind of lead us off with some of the content. So one thing we hear from citizen scientists, especially maybe the younger ones, is what do you do every day? So Rebecca, do you want to kind of take us through just a general day at work? And if you can, maybe touch on how you use citizen science data.
Yeah, of course, as we all know, it's strange times right now, but that doesn't mean that we're not working hard, especially doing a lot of data analysis. In some ways, this has been an interesting and useful time because typically during this spring and the summer and fall, a lot of what I'm doing is running trainings for new volunteers. So I'll be traveling around the region, hosting trainings at our league chapters. So we're part of the Isaac Walton League of America, and we have chapters all over the country. So we'll actually host trainings at the chapter properties. I'll also work with other local nonprofits or watershed groups to host trainings and get folks involved with Save Our Streams. So typically I might be traveling and doing that. I might be answering volunteer questions, putting together people's certification packets. Once people are certified, they have to pass exams and managing all of that. But a lot of what I've been doing recently has actually been diving into a lot of the data that's been collected, which is really nice because the data that people collect is really useful and very usable for everyone from, a local watershed or local community to state and federal agencies. So the data is very usable for water quality and informing us what's going on in our waterways. So I could be doing anything from, answering a lot of phone calls or emails to traveling. Right now, doing a lot of data management and making maps and visualizing our data and figuring out what stories our volunteers are providing about water quality.
That is so awesome. And then and so we kind of got the picture of what you do with the data. So you're using it, people submit it. So maybe we can take a look at the projects themselves. So maybe either Emily or Zach or Sam, could you tell us a little bit about some of the Isaac Walton League's projects?
I can talk about one of our projects, which is the Salt Watch. Can I share my screen?
Let's do it.
Okay, 1 second. Let's give this a shot.
And the Isaac Walton League, are they, while Emily's getting her screen up, are you guys just in the United States, or are you a global organization?
Yeah, so we're a national organization. We were founded in 1922 by a handful of anglers outside of the Chicago area. And since then we have, blossomed into a nationwide conservation organization with about 200 chapters, and we're focused primarily in the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic, although we have chapters, in Oregon and Florida and everywhere in between.
And that's so fabulous. And so I'm sure the Isaac Walton League does a ton of different projects, but the projects we're focusing on today are citizen science oriented. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
What are some of the non-citizen science projects before Emily tells us a little bit about Salt Watch? Like, what else does IWLA do?
Sure. So we have a conservation program, and they're focused a lot on, the lobbying, litigation, regulations that protect our environment. In the conservation program, we have the Clean Water Program, which is us. So we focus a lot on the citizen science, but we're also focused on, Clean Water Act and water policy. We have an agriculture program, which is focused on sustainable farming initiatives as well as agriculture policy. And then our chapters are their own entities, so their own 501c3s. So a lot of them are clubhouse, shooting ranges, safe hunting, things like that they're focused on as well.
Awesome. All right, then Emily, do you want to tell us about Winter Salt Watch?
Sure. So Winter Salt Watch, as I mentioned before, is our program where we send out chloride test strips. I wish I had a kit with me, but we send out a kit. You can sign up right on our website here, which is iwla.org/saltwatch. And you can sign up for a kit and you get 4 chloride test strips. And we are still promoting this because it is a safely, socially distant activity.
But I have a kit.
You have a kit to show, Sam?
Yeah, so you get a couple postcards and then this little bag, which has 4 chloride test strips in it. So I can open this up. So, Dob is very interested.
Don't let Dobby eat a test strip.
I know. So they look like this.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So those test strips, they tell you how much chloride is in the water, and we're concerned about chloride because a major source of chloride in our streams is from road salt during winter maintenance, and it can be really impactful on stream health. So it can impact aquatic life. So it can be really harmful to the benthic macroinvertebrates, which we do a lot of other monitoring for, and which can tell us about overall stream health. It can also impact human health by getting into drinking water supplies and getting into our groundwater. So it is something of concern, and it's an issue that's been growing over the last few decades because the salt doesn't just go away, it accumulates over time. So we have this project. It's definitely a citizen science crowdsourced project. All you need is a kit. You don't really need to know anything. All you're doing to participate is you're using that strip and following the instructions on the card, which you can see here, which gives you instructions on how to do that. And then you are uploading your results to Water Reporter, which is like an Instagram of water issues. So this is a great example. Someone in Reston used their test strip and they took a really great salt watch picture, and that's reading, it looks like it's not quite 30 parts per million. So that's a good reading. But we get pictures like this all season long, and then we pull the results together. Like Rebecca was saying, we're doing a lot of data analysis now. So this is all of our results from this season, which is from about a year ago. So this is cumulative over the last year. It hasn't snowed that much across the country this winter, but we have everywhere where you see red or where there are dangerous levels of chloride. But chloride is still an issue in summer months because as the temperatures get higher, the aquatic life becomes more sensitive to the chloride in the water. So if you're able to it's not winter anymore, but salt watch is a great activity while you're social distancing, and the data is still valuable even though it's summertime. That's what I got for salt watch.
I love it. So, Emily, is that the main project you work on?
No, not at all. No, it is not my main project. I can talk about my main project a little bit later, but I think Zach and Sam can talk about some of our other main programs we work on.
Awesome. So for Winter Salt Watch, how did it get started?
So that's a fun story. Basically, he wasn't an intern, but our clean water fellow two winters ago, so like January 2018, there was a big pile of salt at the entrance to our office, and everyone kept driving over it, and it was sitting right on the storm drain. It was actually kind of dangerous because it like made it more slippery to drive over. And our clean water fellow, Scott, he got so angry and he wanted to go and clean it up himself, but it's a four-lane road. So he said, you can't do that. So he tried calling the city. They said to call the county. The county said to call the city. He eventually was able to get it cleaned up by talking to MDE, but not until he had written 2 different letters to the editor in local papers, including the Washington Post. And that storm drain went right into the Muddy Branch, which is our local stream that goes on our office's property. And we saw that there was these big spikes in chloride happening, obviously from salt sitting right on top of the storm drain. So we thought this can't be the only place this is happening. This has to be an issue everywhere that winter happens. So we use the chloride test strips in our standard Save Our Streams monitoring kit, but we didn't think it was going to be feasible for everyone to buy a bottle of the chloride test strips. So we said we can build these kits ourselves, and it's really grown from there. We have a lot more participation than we started with. It's grown kind of organically, and I'd say it's a very successful program. We have a lot of localized participation. So in the Philadelphia region, there's a consortium of local environmental groups that all participate in Winter Salt Watch. We have a group out in Minneapolis that picked it up and does it, and a group outside of Detroit. All of these groups that use our project for their own means, but it's a good addition to their monitoring programs.
That's awesome. I love that it just came from, someone who was upset about something in your own office and he made it happen. That's fabulous.
Yeah, he was definitely the spark. We ran with it.
All right. And before we move on, one question about chloride. So what if the stream by your office, I think you said it's called the Muddy Creek stream?
Muddy Branch, yeah.
Muddy Branch. Why would it be bad for it to have chloride in it?
So like I said, it can be, it's natural that anything that lives in freshwater or drinks freshwater, that's not healthy for it. Like you couldn't drink salt water and function well. So yeah. It's the same for any aquatic life that's used to living in a freshwater stream. They can't really function if there's too much chloride in the water.
Got it.
And actually, if there's too much salt, chloride is just a good way to measure salt.
Got it. Is there a way to get that salt out once it's there? Or do you just kind of have to wait for time to do its do its thing?
So time, yes, time doesn't exactly do its thing, because if the salt gets into the groundwater, it's kind of there. It's not going anywhere. That groundwater system could maybe be flushed out, but that could take a lot of time. Groundwater can be complicated and works differently in different regions. But if you want to get salt out of water, you need like a desalination plant, like they have in drought type places. Like I think California has some desalination plants. It's expensive. So ideally we keep the salt from going in the water in the first place.
That sounds like a good solution to me. Do y'all have any questions about the project Emily just told us about, or like any other thoughts you wanted to include about it for our other panelists?
I don't think so. I mean, the success of this project has really been like the partners that we work with. So we do a lot of, pushing this project to our constituents and our chapters, but the partners are really the ones that drive change in their regions, because we have limited staff and we can't go making change on the ground everywhere we go. So like our example in the Philadelphia region, the Pennypack Ecological Restoration Trust, they have a great staff person and a great constituent of volunteers up there that are really focused in their region and making change on the ground. And so we encourage folks to get involved and, get involved beyond just taking the readings too, to actually, talk to the folks who apply salt in their regions, whether it's their HOA, private owners of, businesses, or, their Department of Transportation to start to, create a dialogue for how we can keep people safe on the roads, but also reduce our salt impacts.
Right. Yeah. So we have some information on our SaltWatch website about what kind of things you can advocate for and what changes you can make locally or just at your own home to reduce salt use. And we had a really great webinar about Winter Salt Watch and just salt in general and its impact on water quality last Wednesday. And that can be found on just the homepage of iwla.org. You can see our old webinars.
That's awesome. Yeah, as a native Floridian, this has been very fascinating to me. I had no idea this was such an issue. So thank you for educating me about this.
No problem.
Great. All right, do we want to move on to our next project spotlight?
I can talk about chemical monitoring. I think
Let's do it.
It's a good segue from SaltWatch. So like Emily mentioned, chloride is kind of part of our wider array of chemical testing that we do on waterways. I've got a couple of them here with me, but here is like what the chloride strip bottle looks like. And so I think this comes with like 35 or something strips. And we test chloride. We also test nitrate and nitrite. And that's just these little strips that you dip in the water, and they change colors, and you can match the color up to a value on the bottle. pH is another thing that we monitor for, and it works really similarly to the nitrate strips. And then we also use these kits for dissolved oxygen and phosphate, which are kind of cool because you get to see a cool chemical reaction and color change in front of your eyes, and you can then line up your sample tube to this this scale to see what your results are that you're finding. So we also do, in addition to nitrate, nitrite, phosphate, pH, chloride, and dissolved oxygen, we also just do temperature and transparency. So that's our full suite of chemical and physical monitoring. And that's a great activity right now during social distancing because, one person can use this strip. You just have to dip it in the water. It takes 30 seconds for it to change color, and then you see what your value is, and then record that on your data sheet. And we actually have a database that Sam, I think, will talk a little bit after me. But we have a nice publicly accessible database that everyone can submit their chemical data to. And like Rebecca mentioned earlier, normally during this time, we'd be doing a lot of trainings, teaching people how to sample macroinvertebrates or aquatic bugs, and then identify those and sort those, and you can get a stream health rating based on the aquatic life you're finding. But that really takes some training and experience. But whereas the chemical strips, you can't read it, but it's got just step-by-step instructions right here. So with no previous training or no previous scientific experience, you can hop on Amazon or straight from the distributors and order these online. Take it out with you on your walk. It only takes a few minutes to do our entire suite of tests. Or if you are from an area that's, or you personally are really interested in just 1 or 2 tests, you can do that as well. So you don't need to do everything if you're just interested in doing something, or if you don't have the money to get a full kit. Yeah, and so that's something that we're really trying to push right now to get more monitoring sites across the country. And chemical monitoring is a great way to just get really easily understandable results about how what's happening on the land is affecting what's happening in the water. So macroinvertebrate monitoring, you kind of get a longer timeline of what's been going on in the water, but the chemical sampling, you get an immediate result, and you can tell if it just rained, for example, how that's affecting the water, or if you're downstream of a potential pollution location, you could see how that might be affecting your area. And yeah, it's something that you can do with kids. I think it's kind of cool to get that instant gratification when the strips change colors, and record those and figure out what's going on in your backyard.
That's great. And like, so when you were showing all those, the kits,
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously very, very cool, but I know as a citizen scientist myself, I might feel a little intimidated by it at first. Is there a place where people can go for instructions to kind of like ease them into it?
Yeah, you bet. I'm gonna try to share my screen, and here we go. So we have a lot of great resources on our website. Are you seeing the clean water page?
Yep, I see it. Yeah.
I have 2 screens, so I want to make sure I'm sharing the right one. So if you just go to, it's got this long extension, but if you just go to iwla.org/chemical, it takes you straight to this chemical monitoring page. Gives you kind of a rundown of here are our tests that we do. It gives you some narratives. You can also jump down to resources for monitors on the side. And we've got lists of equipment. We have some nice how-to videos. And then we also have, you can go down here and you can find instructions to do all these tests. And it tells you more about what the tests mean, or what your results might mean, how it impacts, how different things might be impacting your results, and just kind of walks you step by step through exactly how to do it if you're interested in learning more. Additionally, we have a bunch of stuff on our YouTube channel. And if you just dig around the our IWLA website, there's a lot of great resources there as well.
Also, if folks are intimidated, you can always just start with just one of the tests. You don't have to do all of them. So like the nitrate test strips, they're usually about $15 for a bottle, and it gets you, at least 30 tests there. And then you can, $9.97. It's lower.
Yeah.
And free shipping. All right.
Yeah. So from there, you can then you're just focusing on your one test. You can do a bunch of sites, and then you don't have to worry about, lugging all the equipment everywhere. So it's a good way to start small and then get hooked and then get the rest of the tests later.
Yeah, and I also know we have Jay Butler on, and so I've got this pulled up to do a little highlight as well. If you're someone who maybe doesn't want to scramble down a really steep bank, or you don't have boots that can get in the water for whatever reason, you can do, it doesn't have to be this fancy of a kit. He's just got all those same kits we were just talking about, and he stuffed them in this nice waterproof container. But you can go and do this chemical monitoring actually from a bridge. You can see here, he's just got a rope and a bucket, and you can lower that down into the water, pull it back up and dump it out. And you want to rinse your container 3 times to make sure that you're not contaminating your sample. And then you pull up the water, and you can just do your testing right there on the bridge, where he takes his home in jars, I think, and does a lot of his sampling at home. So you don't even have to stand outside in the cold or the rain or whatever is going on if that's what you want to do. One piece of advice, if you are interested in doing this bridge sampling and taking samples home, you would want to do the dissolved oxygen and the temperature tests right there as soon as you get the water out, because the dissolved oxygen will change as the water is exposed to the air, and obviously the temperature will change as it's out of the water body. It'll adjust to the air temperature, but all the other chemical tests should remain the same.
I love it. So to quickly pivot from the chemical tests, I wanted to ask Zach, like, how did you get started in this type of work? Because you seem obviously, of course, very knowledgeable about how to do all these tests. Are you yourself, like, do you have a science background? Are you a citizen scientist? Like, how did you start doing this sort of thing?
Yeah, I personally have always been interested in natural sciences and natural resources. Studied environmental science and natural resources, and also part of my grad school work was science communication and environmental ed. And so that kind of just led me straight into this field. But I grew up here in Iowa, and so there's a lot of concern in Iowa about especially agriculture and just chemical runoff in general, and how that affects our waterways. And, you know, I've seen after a big rainstorm when the water just turns just dark brown, and a lot of times it just stays dark brown and muddy from the soil runoff here in Iowa. So that's just a really big subject here regionally. And so it's kind of a nice way to get involved and give back to the natural resources and the community that means so much to me.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Yeah,
do you have anything else you want to share with us about this type of testing?
I don't believe so. I'd say you can, if you're interested in getting involved and you're not sure where to start, you can hop on our website and poke around there, or you can just email us at sos@iwla.org, and any one of us can also help you out with more specific questions if you have that.
Awesome. I think you said earlier there's a database for this. Do we want to show that on the screen now too?
Yeah, you want to take that, Sam?
Yeah, I can take it from here. Let's see. Can you see the hub?
We can see the hub.
All right, so this is our new-ish database, the Clean Water Hub. We launched it about a year ago. And this is what the homepage looks like. And anybody can enter data here. It's all set for Save Our Streams data entry. And you can see how many sites we have in here already, and how many folks we have using the Clean Water Hub. We were actually able to upload a lot of our historical Virginia Save Our Streams data, as well as historical data from the former Iowa Water program that was then defunded by the state. So that's how we got a big boost in our sites and some cool historical knowledge. But once you're here in the hub, you can scroll down, and this also, it's just cleanwaterhub.org, and it also will link to our programs that we're talking about today and how to get involved. And you can, even if you're not taking data right away, you can click on our community page here, and you can play around with the site itself. Let's see. Zoom in, click on different sites in different areas. We can see these are some of Jay's sites here that he's just entered. And so you can click in and click on those different sites and see what he's finding. So really zooming into different areas. You can also scroll down and see the different sites that have been entered over time. And then once you click in on a site, I'll use our headquarters site as an example. This is what you'll see. So there's Rebecca with her formerly pink hair doing some sampling over there. And this is our headquarters site right here. And what's so cool about it is anybody can enter data and enter sites into the hub, and then we can see these parameters and how they've changed over time. So this is chloride, a chart showing our chloride readings, and we started taking these in 2017. And so you can see how they've spiked over time. And an interesting aspect of this is the fact that at our headquarters site, even though we're in Maryland, it doesn't snow all year, we have pretty high chloride readings all year long. So that road salt application really does impact our stream in the summer months. It would be April. And you can click in on all these different parameters and see, how these sites have changed. So we have pretty good phosphate readings over time. Occasionally at our headquarters, we get a little nitrate spike, probably from fertilizers from the communities around us. But you can really, look into the different chemical parameters. You can also see biological readings over time. So the folks that go out and monitor the bugs, they can enter that bug data in here as well. Unfortunately, because we're in a pretty developed area where our headquarters is, our bug readings aren't great. It's generally, poor or fair is what we get. I think we recently got a good, but then it shows you the different bugs that we found on our last outing as well. So the hub is super easy to use. All you have to do is create an account. I'm logged in as myself right now, but it's just, the typical way you create an online account, an email that's valid, and a little bit of information about you. And then you're good to enter data. If you get stuck with the Clean Water Hub, you can email us at sos@iwla.org, or there's this help function, which opens up our help center. So I have some FAQs as well as a basic user's guide. So adding your stream site to the Clean Water Hub, how do you do that? And we have videos to show you how, which show me screen sharing there. And even on this help guide here, another cool aspect is you can just go ahead and enter your question in this chat box. And it shoots me an email right away, so I can get back to you and help you troubleshoot your hub entry. One thing about the hub that's really awesome is that we are always trying to expand it and make it grow. And so we have a bunch of organizations that are also entering data here. So you can see a lot of our chapters are involved, but then we also have like the Cedar Valley Paddlers in Iowa who are entering data. The Green Mountain Conservation Group, I'm working with them to get their data in. So we're trying to make this a true hub for water quality information. So it's not just for Isaac Walton League data, but it's for citizen scientists monitoring data for everybody across the country.
Oh my gosh, that is just so fabulous. And while you were chatting, I wanted to make sure that things were listed on SciStarter. And so on SciStarter, we have this thing called the Project Finder, where people can find, all sorts of different citizen science projects, including some of the greats like, Stream Selfie, Creek Critters, all of those awesome projects. And I found one called, I think, Creek Freaks from you all. It's just so amazing the number of programs you all have and that you've aggregated things in this resource. So thank you.
Yeah, so Creek Freaks was, we took our Save Our Streams program and expanded it to be, a K through 12 education program as well. So they do the same types of monitoring. We train teachers to do that. And students can go out and do this type of monitoring and enter that data. And so there's also a curriculum that's a bunch of resources for teachers to use for in classroom and in the field projects for students. And that's available on our website as well.
So we run into this on SciStarter a lot because we also provide, when you want to provide people with a lot of resources, sometimes they can be like, oh my gosh, where do I start? So when you're introducing people to like all that Save Our Streams and the Isaac Walton League has to offer, what would be like your recommended pathway for participation? It's like step 1, do this, step 2, do that for all the different projects that we're seeing here. What's a good way to ease someone into it? Because there's probably not just one path, but if you were going to recommend it to somebody just getting started.
Yeah, so we actually have like what we're calling our like basic ladder of engagement. And basically it's the amount of time and resources that you need to have to be able to participate. We want to start with the least amount of time and resources and then pull people up to the most amount of time and resources as they get passionate about their local waterways. So this is actually a perfect segue because we encourage folks to start with Stream Selfie. So I can turn it over to Rebecca and she can talk a little bit about our Stream Selfie program.
Let's do it. Step 1, Stream Selfie.
Yeah, that was incredible. Great work all around. Okay. Let me just share that. All righty. Okay, so Stream Selfie, I think especially if people are familiar with SciStarter already, they're probably familiar with Stream Selfie. So this is one of our programs that's hosted on SciStarter and is something that we've been partnering with for a long time. So like our map lives on SciStarter where you can see selfies that people have submitted over time. And this is basically a way to get people engaged right away with just paying attention to the streams near them and starting to think about their watersheds and think about the issues affecting their streams and sort of spark that interest. It's very popular, especially with like scout groups and a lot of school groups, but adults too. I mean, it's really nice if you have a stream that you walk by every day, or you go for jogs, or it's just a spot that's been really important to you. It's a way to document that site, as well as get some interest about what's going on with your stream, and then maybe spark that interest in, I wonder how road salt's affecting the stream, or other chemicals. Are there bugs in the stream that I can look at, and how healthy is my water? So it's a pretty cool program, and it's one that's been just really organically growing over time. And so our website, we've recently done some refurbishment for the Stream Selfie page, and so we always highlight every week. We have our selfie of the week. So this was one that was submitted by a Girl Scout, talking about why is the stream important for her, and what has she noticed about the stream. And so all you do is you go out, you take a picture, and you can also take a picture of the stream. You don't necessarily have to be in it yourself. And then you submit some information about the stream as well. So it could include things like, is there any trash by your stream? Is this a stream that you monitor already? Is the stream accessible? Is it private or public? And this is data that we can start to use to target for monitoring, or if people are thinking about, I want to go out, especially right now, and do, a social distancing activity, but help clean water. Well, is there an area near you that has a lot of trash that you can go help pick up? And so even recently we've been putting together, so like this is a map of trash reports of this from our Stream Selfies. So we have, since the Stream Selfie started, we've had over 2,000 submissions, which is amazing. And then you can see all across the US that, all these different reportings of trash levels. So the red, of course, is a lot of trash, orange, moderate, yellow, minimal, and green, none. So not surprisingly, of course, a lot of the more developed areas have more trash, but it's a pretty amazing way to visualize right away sort of what's going on with our, our freshwater streams and our drinking sources all across the country. So this is just one piece of information that we can get from the Stream Selfie. And even recently, I pulled up a few of my favorite ones that we've gotten recently. So this was Joe Diesel, who loves his stream. So the Stream Selfie doesn't even have to be of you or of a human being. It can also be, your pets enjoy streams. So we let our dogs go and play in the water a lot of times. But for some of us, like I live in Silver Spring, the stream near me is actually quite impaired. And so it might be somewhere that actually I probably shouldn't let my kids or my dog maybe get in there. But you can also just take a picture of a beautiful, stream that's meaningful to you. You don't have to be in it if you don't feel like having your face in the selfie, but it's also just a great way. So last week I went and got this Stream Selfie while social distancing. So this is at Sligo Creek in Maryland. And then I could answer, this isn't a monitored site. There was a little bit of trash there, and it's publicly accessible. So it could be something where in the future, if we want to start monitoring here, now we have a little bit of information about it. And otherwise, we just get really nice pictures of people enjoying the waterways. And it's a way to build not just, really important data about our streams, but also just showing where are streams that are important to us, and where, how do we engage with water? How do we engage with nature and get people interested in, fighting for this area and fighting for clean water. So especially for Citizen Science and Citizen Science Month, Earth Month, we're doing the Stream Selfie Blitz. So we're basically just asking folks to make a small pledge, and then also go out and take selfies starting on Earth Day especially, and then through the end of April, and trying to get as many selfies as possible. And we already have a bunch from 2020. So we have this map on our website, just at iwla.org/stream selfie. And you can go up and see where we've been getting some great selfies already from, folks who are doing chemical monitoring, people who are just sort of out and about. This was actually from last week. I did a live SciStarter event with Earth Echo. And so she went out that day, or the day before, I think, and got.
There's Susan. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she's up, she's there. So it's really cool. It's just a way, and you get to see, why are these streams important? You know, a lot of people, it's near where I live, it passes through our property. People talk about how it's beautiful, it's calming, it's important for wildlife. So it's just a really cool way to bring together a lot of people and show why we care about clean water at all, because at the end of the day, that's what matters for, you know, getting people inspired for these projects is why do we care? And for a lot of people, there's lots of different reasons.
Yeah, and for our Stream Selfie Blitz, which we're launching on Earth Day, April 22nd through the end of the month, our goal is to get 500 stream selfies in from folks. And we already have had a donor pledge to donate an amount per stream selfie that we get. So any stream selfies we get during that time period is going to help earn money for our program so we can train more people in the fall.
We can help you with that. We at SciStarter, we feature Stream Selfie in all sorts of different programs. I know some people who are going to be watching this video may be involved in like some of our corporate volunteer programs. So rest assured, Stream Selfie is on your page and you can go find it and be part of this amazing effort, part of the Earth Day effort. Great. All right. So that's Rebecca made a really good point about people are passionate for streams and about water for a lot of different reasons. And we heard a little bit from Zach about how he's passionate about it because of the water in the community where he grew up, you know, in Iowa. So if you all don't mind, I'd love to, you know, switch gears just for a sec away from projects and a little bit more about you again, about why you care about this type of work and why you think it's important.
Sure. And I can start off since I was just talking. So I've worked with several different citizen science projects since graduating from school. So I've worked with citizen science projects with elephants and with turtles. And then now I keep zooming down in size. So I was like elephants, turtles, now bugs. But I really love citizen science and I love working with volunteers because it's so exciting to see people across all ages and all demographics, all backgrounds, getting really excited and learning about their natural world, getting passionate about these projects, and then becoming advocates in their own communities. I really feel like I'm sort of the conduit of information. Like, you have a lot of passion, quick, let me teach you about bugs, and then you're gonna go off and become this amazing advocate in your community. And it just increases the power of what we do because, you know, we have Zach in Iowa and I'm in the Mid-Atlantic, but we have volunteers all over the country. And by training these volunteers and then having them go off and be able to, you know, reach out to others and gather this data, it just increases what we could do 100-fold, 200-fold. And it's just amazing. And especially, you know, I didn't know a lot about clean water issues really before I started working here. I mean, I was like, yeah, sure, the Clean Water Act, you know, I've seen this stuff. I read about a couple of things. The river that ran through my hometown, famously in like the 40s, would change color every day because of the dye. And so now working here and being involved with these issues, I'm learning so much more. I mean, it never crossed my mind like, oh yeah, road salt, that could be a problem for water. Just all these different issues and all the people who are involved with it. And it's just really exciting. It's a really cool community. There's so many people I've met already there's all these different aspects and facets, and we all fit together and hopefully can, you know, really start getting people involved. And citizen science gives me a lot of hope for the future because you just see that people have this endless capacity to learn and then want to share right away, which is pretty cool.
Rebecca, that's so amazing. Oh my gosh. Yes. We can all come together with citizen science. And I saw Sam had in her video with her lab partner, so to speak. I don't think we've introduced him formally on this broadcast yet. Do you want to go grab him?
Yeah, he's right here. He's just alternating between laying. This is Bobby. He's my little lab partner. He's very, unlike most dogs during social distancing, he's actually very annoyed at my presence all day and would like to take a nap. Yeah, but he's my little lab partner. He likes to drink out of streams, so I like to make sure that our streams are healthy enough for him to do that. And yeah, just like as far as like how I got involved in citizen science, I actually grew up in Chicago. And, the house that I remember growing up in, you could literally reach out of my kitchen window and into my neighbor's kitchen window. So super populated. But I, come from a family of people who really enjoy the outdoors and like going camping. And my grandma was an environmental educator and a biology teacher and worked in museums and did the whole 9 yards of citizen science. So yeah, I was always really passionate that people needed to feel connected to the outdoors, even if they grew up in urban areas. And, I got in this field, I was a science of natural environmental systems major in college. And then I ended up kind of going into an environmental education realm for my career. I did a year, and I ended up as a nature preschool teacher for a year outside of Philadelphia. And it was a lot of fun and it was great, but I missed, the tedious science that I was used to when I grew up with. So that's how I ended up at the Isaac Walton League. And, it resonates with me today that I think everybody needs to feel connected to the environment, and no matter where you live, you should have the right to have clean water, and know how to find those results yourself. So that's why I'm passionate. Plus he literally drinks out of every dirty puddle. So we got to make sure they're okay for him.
We have to save our streams for Dobby.
Yeah. Otherwise, who knows? His little peanut brain can't tell the difference. So.
And before we hear from Emily, I wanted to ask, you bring up a really good point about urban areas. Is there a good way for someone who lives in a very heavily populated urban area to participate in the projects that we heard about today?
Yeah. Stream Selfie and Saltwatch are great projects to do wherever you are. And even if we build up urban areas, there's still streams running through them, even if they're completely cemented in and end up being more like a drain pipe rather than a beautiful scenic stream. So that's a great way to get involved. In DC, we're so lucky because we have a lot of natural areas that even in the middle of the city, you can, jaunt over to Rock Creek Park and take a sample there. But, in other urban areas as well, there's little nooks and crannies where you can go take a sample, take a selfie, get involved, and do that type of monitoring. Emily's from New York and did some sampling with her family outside of New York as well. So she can probably speak a little bit more to that, but anybody can get involved.
Awesome. Yeah, Emily, could you tell us about that?
Sure. I was also going to say for Saltwatch, our group that is in the Minneapolis suburbs, they're doing a lot of their Saltwatch sampling, like in runoff going into storm drains, because that water is going to end up in local rivers and streams. So they're looking at the chloride content there. So that can count too. I know certainly that when it rains in front of my house, it really looks like we've got a stream going down the middle of the street. Yeah, I'm from the suburbs of New York City, and I guess it was a year ago I took my parents and brother out macroinvertebrate sampling in our local park streams, and my father was very disappointed that the water quality score was so low. And because it's a suburban area, there's a lot of impervious surface. There are a couple of highways nearby, but if you just look around, it looks like a nice wooded area. But I wasn't surprised, but it just goes to show you that, we can all do better at educating the people around us on water quality issues, because I would expect my own father to know better. And I personally got involved and started caring about water quality issues because, like I said, I'm from New York, grew up very close to the Hudson River. And the first issue I was ever aware of was through this organization, Clearwater, which started, 60 years ago about, to clean up the Hudson River, to get GE to clean up heavy metals from the water and to close down a nuclear power plant that was on the Hudson River. Those were the issues I knew about when I was young. And it got me concerned and excited about water. And I kind of have really stayed in that world from my education through the work I do now. And pretty much all the work I've done has either been with volunteers that are really great at helping with either tracking plants or tracking aquatic life, or helping do stream restoration. All work I've done has really been with volunteers as the backbone of the work I do. So I'm really happy to still be working on citizen science. And now my job is that I get to kind of elevate that citizen science. And my job is to connect our work to something called the Chesapeake Monitoring Cooperative. And we basically make sure that the quality of the citizens' data collected is of a quality that's good enough for local government or state and even federal agencies to use for determining water quality.
Thank you so much, Emily. And we're nearing the end of our time together for today. So I think I'll open it up for any final thoughts or things that we didn't get to share yet that you all want to share. And of course, a call to action for the people watching today. So final thoughts, last things to share, and call to action.
Yeah, I think final thoughts is that, you know, you can really start small and do something that takes, you know, a smartphone and a minute of your time. And that's something that we can still use and make an impact with based on the data that you submit through Stream Selfie. And so start small. You might be surprised at how hooked you get with water quality issues, because that's how we all started, is really just having that first glimpse into water quality and into citizen science, and then getting hooked. And now it's our careers, which is really exciting. So I don't know if anybody has other thoughts, or if you want me to dive into that call to action. No.
I think sort of tied with that is the idea that I think for me, you know, I was like, oh, the Clean Water Act, done, like water's good. And it is something that's really interesting to see, especially recently with different changes about environmental policies and everywhere from federal to local. Everything's still changing, and there are still ways that if you just go to a town meeting or a city council, you can make a really big impact for your water. And it's in some ways a little scary. It's not like guaranteed that your water is safe forever. It's something you have to keep an eye on, but also you have a lot of power to be able to go and bring up these issues and say, have you thought about how, you know, this might affect water? It's everywhere. It's connected to everything. So I think it's something that's not done. It probably won't ever be finished. And so it's a fight that's always worth having, and, you know, always worth getting involved in.
Yeah, and on that note, not to be scary, but the you know, a lot of people are talking about how like the greenhouse gas emissions are lower than ever, and the virus is actually doing good things for the environment. Well, on the other hand, the EPA is no longer enforcing, you know, water quality, you know, permitting issues. So when people are not obeying their permits and polluting into streams, the EPA doesn't have the bandwidth to enforce that right now. So citizen science is a way to get everybody involved so they care about their streams, but also they're the watchdogs of those streams when the states and the feds and the local governments don't have the capacity to get out there and do the monitoring themselves.
Yeah, I was gonna add just a really good local example. I saw an email today. There's a stream in Northern Virginia, the Akatank, and someone sent an email like, hey, there were some people from Virginia Department of Environmental Quality on that email, and they said, hey, we've seen that there's a lot of pollution just from being able to see without any chemical monitoring of any kind. They said, we're able to see there's a lot of pollution in the Akatank. Is anyone doing this? We think it's from this such and such construction, because a lot of construction is still going on. So even while, you know, you're shut down, if you're out and about, like you can still see a water quality issue often, and it's still worth reporting to your local and state agencies because you might be the first one to note it.
Yeah, definitely. Zach, do you have any final thoughts for us, especially based on like the chemical testing kits you showed us and all that great work?
Yeah, I'd say my final thoughts are more just kind of big picture about citizen science and what we do. In that, I think it's really important to remember that anybody can be a scientist. A lot of times, if you tell someone to picture a scientist and describe it, it might be a 60-year-old white male with crazy hair and goggles and a lab coat. And there are people that do that and look like that, but citizen or scientists can be any age, any background. Really at its core, science is just curiosity and asking questions. And so, often kids are the best scientists because they're always curious about what's going on around them. So anybody, like I said, can be a scientist. If you have a question about what's going on in your water, you can go to SciStarter or work with IWLA, and hopefully we can answer those questions and learn more about the world around us. So yeah, so that's my final thoughts.
That's what I call a call to action. All right. So for those of you who are watching, I turn your curiosity into impact. Take a stream selfie this month. Be part of the Stream Selfie Blitz. And just keep up the good work to our friends who joined us today from Save Our Streams and the Isaac Walton League. Thank you so, so much.
All right. Thank you.
Caroline?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, I'm going to stop our live stream now.